Hey there guys, I'm SonicGhost and welcome back to some more Let's Play Sonic 4 Episode 2. Last time we made our way through Oil Desert Zone and we got our last Chaos Emerald unlocking Super Sonic. And in this episode, we're making our way to Sky Fortress Zone. So in order to play Sky Fortress Zone, you need to play through Sylvania Castle, White Park, and Oil Desert. Then this unlocks. But you start off with a Sky Chase reference from Sonic 2. So we went all the way back to Sylvania Castle to grab the tornado to chase after Eggman. Because at this point, we can't chase him on ground anymore, he's up in the air. And the more we chase Eggman up here in the air, we see his battleship come out, along with Metal Sonic driving his own ship that looks like a whale for some reason. They tried to go for a look of his head, but at the end of the day, that doesn't really look like a Metal Sonic head. It looks more like a whale. So, gotta avoid all these rockets, and once we do so, we are given control of Sonic. So, we can go ahead and move around, and we can go ahead and use the X button to do a drill attack with the tornado, but pretty much if you played Sky Chase from Sonic 2 in the Genesis, then that's pretty much how this plane section controls here in Sonic 4 Episode 2. So, one big difference here though, is you can actually get off the plane and move around separate. So in this case, I can jump up here to the top area, and then I can have Tails drive down below and follow Sonic. So that's nice. And then this drill attack that we're going to be needing to use to get through wooden crates like so, you use that to break through things and destroy enemies pretty easily. But there's a little bit of a cooldown because Tails does get dizzy doing that. I mean, you're doing a pretty fast barrel roll, so it makes sense for Tails to get dizzy. But Sonic can still jump off the plane, and he can still do a homing attack. You can even still transform to Super Sonic here. So you can use your Super form to still make short work of the stage because you're invincible while Super, so you don't have to worry about anything attacking you, which is nice. But after a certain amount of time in the stage, then your plane is going to start speeding up. In a sense, it's almost like the Mach speed sections from Sonic 06. So what you need to do is just avoid these objects, because if you're hidden behind a wall and the screen moves too fast, you're crushed and die. Simple as that. And then there's going to be certain sections where you're going to have to use your little drill attack with Tails to actually get through, because those wooden crates are blocking the way. So you're going to need to do that at times too, so you got to pay attention. It's a very fast moving section, and your first time playing the game, this level will probably give you some hard time just because of some of the stuff that just gets thrown in your face real quick, especially during those very fast Mach speed sections. But one thing I should also mention is Tails' plane can actually kill enemies too. So you can jump or homing attack enemies, you can spin into them with the plane itself, but you can just drive into things and you can destroy it with the plane's rudder, or just drive on top of it with the wheels. So the plane itself is a pretty useful weapon to use in the stage just because of it being able to kill enemies. And it's kind of hilarious just to go down with the plane and just basically sit on top of an enemy just to see it die. It's pretty humorous. But if you have Super Sonic for the stage, it just becomes a very easy auto-scroller because nothing will kill you. The plane doesn't take any damage, and Super Sonic doesn't take any damage, so all you gotta do is just kill things and move on. That's it. In fact, you don't even have to kill things, you can just kind of mind your own business, and as long as you have enough rings, you just kind of stand there. So the stage becomes super simple until you get to these fast Mach speed sections. Then you have to start paying attention again and make sure you use that drilling move at the right time. But besides those sections, you know, just kind of standing around waiting for things to happen to Super Sonic. So at this point, we're just waiting for the stage to move on, can't do anything else. And this is the one section of the stage where you can't fly through with Tails. They take away the plane from you here because Tails can't fit through that little small crack. So now you're platforming, and this is the only real section of platforming you do in this stage. So what you gotta do is you need to just homing attack chain these enemies on top of the turtles, because you're gonna want to get on top of these turtles. Safest way to do so is using your homing attack. So if you just run on these things and jump up onto the turtles to kill the enemies, you're probably gonna fall off and die. That's why you need to use the homing attack here, and it's really hard to do this segment with Super Sonic. So if you don't have Super Sonic here, it's probably a lot easier, and in fact, if you didn't transform yet, also it's probably easier to do that section without Super Sonic turned on. But now with the final part of the stage here, Metal Sonic will be shooting out these cannonballs at you, and you need to knock these cannonballs back at Metal Sonic in order to destroy his ship. So there's gonna be a lot of these cannonballs we need to wait for. He shoots out a lot of these things before he finally takes enough damage from his own attack. You would think after the first hit, even the first, like maybe 5 hits, he would learn, you know, that's not working, maybe I should stop. But nah, he keeps on doing it. Because logic. He will shoot out other things at you too. He will shoot out those little laser balls. He'll shoot out these flying enemies. So you gotta take out the birds or just avoid them entirely. And then the turtles will still kind of fly up and attack you, but you're pretty much just waiting for Metal Sonic to shoot out a cannonball, and then you're jumping right into it. A lot of people, when they first played this game, they didn't even know you can jump into the cannonball. They thought you had to avoid it because nothing really gives you the idea that the cannonball could be knocked back at Metal Sonic. It just looks like something that would hurt you a little bit more. So it looks like something that could maybe take down the plane, or if it wouldn't do that, it just looks like a bigger obstacle for you to avoid. Because that's bigger than any laser he shoots at you. After you hit Metal Sonic enough times with those wrecking balls, his ship goes down, and that's it, you beat the stage. But that's not the only way you can actually beat this stage. If you don't know that you can destroy Metal Sonic's ship by bouncing those metal balls back at him, and you constantly just dodge his metal balls, you'll be waiting here for quite some time, for over 6 minutes. This becomes a very long and drawn out stage if you don't have the idea of bouncing back his balls. So, what happens after a while is Metal Sonic will just drive into Wing Fortress Zone. I don't know how he doesn't notice that's in front of him when he's staring right at it. Then he looks at you for a split second and runs into Wing Fortress Zone. Like, what? Metal, it was just right in front of your face. This is why you don't take your eyes off the road, or in this case, off the sky. So that was very stupid of him to drive straight into their flying fortress. But that's how the stage ends if you don't know that you can destroy Metal Sonic's ship by just bouncing back his metal balls. So that's really useful. Do bounce back the metal balls. You even get an achievement for doing that. So just do it. You get an achievement for it. It takes half the time, and you'll thank yourself for it in the end. Sky Fortress Zone is probably my favorite zone in the game. I really like the exploration in the stage. It's really fun because there's so many different alternate pathways here. You can take the high road, the low road, and there's a lot of cool different paths you can take because of that. And this zone reminds me a lot of Wing Fortress Zone from Sonic 2, which is pretty much how they wanted to design the stage to look as to begin with. And in fact, right here as well, you're also noticing that I have these walls I can run up, which is a reference back to Sonic Rush, actually. That's something you did in the Rush games. So you run on those walls, and you can go ahead from there to go up or down. So the running wall segments are even showing alternate pathways. And what's nice about this zone in particular is that you can find so many different alternate pathways just by flying around with tails, which is really cool because that gives me a lot of that same exploration factor I had back in the Genesis days. That's why I really like this stage. There's just so much you can do in Wing Fortress Act 2. Just because of all different pathways you can take. It's really fun. Yeah, this is my favorite stage in the game, hands down. There's just so many different alternate paths, and I've gushed about this long enough. I think at this point we can go ahead and just start talking about other things in the stage, like why I haven't used Supersonic yet. I don't want to just keep on abusing Supersonic. I'll use Supersonic once in a while here, but I'm not going to want to use him for every single stage during the entire stage. In this segment in particular, if you use Supersonic, there's just a big enough gap in between each one of those flamethrowers for you to just jump up. So you don't even need to use tails to fly up there. You can just kind of jump on each one of those flamethrowers and you're perfectly fine. So you could do that. And in this segment here in particular, I won't recommend running up the wall with Supersonic because you move way too quick with Super. So trying to get through this segment without falling off a Supersonic, that's a challenge on its own. And in fact, at one point, you need to fall off this wall to get the red ring. Because if you're running on the wall, you're going to miss it. So this portion of the level in particular, it's very useful to use the flying tag team combo with Tails. And there is a bottom segment of the level you can traverse through, but there's a lot of bottomless pit sections there just because of moving platforms. So I won't recommend taking the bottom path in that last segment. It's very easy to die. So that's Act 2 out of the way, so now it's time for Act 3. And starting up right away, if you fly to the top here of the section you just drop into Act 3 in, you get yourself a free 1-up. So there you go, free extra life. Very easy, just like how in Sylvania Castle Act 1 they just kind of give it to you in the beginning. Do the same here in Wing Fortress Act 3. So this level here brings back a gimmick that was in Defect Zone from Sonic and Knuckles. You have these cannons where if you jump inside of them, they will shoot you out with these ring trails, and that just lets you traverse further into the level. So some of them are required, some of them are not. A lot of them actually you can just skip in the level because you don't need to really worry about taking those ring trails, since you could just kind of take an alternate pathway by running. It's not that big of a deal. Like this cannon here, for example, this is optional. It's just something that makes our trip a little bit easier and quicker, so I'm going to go ahead and take it. And right here, this is one of the segments where you're going to want to take it. You don't need to take it because you can fly over here with Tails. But it just makes your life easier if you take it. Same for this one. Again, you can use Tails to kind of fly around, but I just recommend taking the cannon. It's just way easier and quicker. But yeah, this stage has a pretty interesting gimmick, taken right from Death Egg from Sonic and Knuckles. So it's a fun stage to run through. Oh, wait. I don't like that spring placement because I want to get in this cannon. And as soon as you're out of the loop-de-loop, that spring's right there to take you in the other direction. I don't like that spring. It's a jerk. Just not needed, but that's the Dimps level design for you. Dimps was the creator of the Sonic 4 games, both Episode 1 and Episode 2. And they're known for putting springs and dash pads in places where they don't need to be, making the levels way too animated. In a case like that, they really wanted you to go left. That was some good animation from Dimps right there. Not a fan. But here, just like Oil Desert Act 1, there's segments here where you need to use Tails to fly, and you can kind of jump over a lot of it, saving you some time and also flight meter with Tails. So I just recommend doing that, and then when you're near a bottomless pit, call for Tails and fly out of there. But with Supersonic, it makes the stage a lot more difficult to go through because of how many bottomless pits. There's so many bottomless pits here that it's so easy for Supersonic to go too fast and just jump right into one. So use Supersonic sparingly here in Act 3. I like using Supersonic right here in particular just because that red ring is engulfed in flames. So being invincible to grab the ring just makes your life way easier. So now let's just go ahead and use Tails to fly up here. Get out of the way from being crushed because it's so easy to get crushed by those two moving cubes here in the very end. So be very careful and time your jumps just right in that segment. It's very easy to get crushed without really knowing because you'll be able to avoid one cube, won't be able to see the other, and get crushed in between the walls. But here you need to use your group spin attack here with Tails, and that's it. Using that is the only real way you're going to be able to get through that last segment of the level, because you need to have enough speed and strength to get over those jumps and break those crates. You could do that with Supersonic, but I just find it way easier to use the group attack with Tails, because I think with Supersonic it's actually possible to overshoot and die. But now on to our boss fight. We're fighting Metal Sonic in this one, so we're going to be back on the plane with Tails fighting Metal Sonic in his ship, which doesn't really make much sense because we saw in the beginning of Wing Fortress Act 1, no matter how you go about that first act, this ship gets destroyed. So that was a really quick turnaround time for the ship. It's already back together. But how this fight works is you need to catch up to Metal Sonic here in his cockpit and then boop him on the head. So what I like to do is I transform into Supersonic if I have him here, because getting the Metal Sonic is very annoying. He shoots out so many lasers here, and they do slow you down, so you don't want to get caught in these lasers even if you're invincible, because they slow you down so much you can miss your timing to hit Metal. So a lot of the times what I like to do in this fight is try to get as close as I can, but if I can't make it, as Supersonic I can just kind of hang back and wait for Metal Sonic to just kind of hover right above my head, and then I can just jump. So if you have Super here, this is way easier. And at this point, I should mention that if you're playing this game co-op, these plane segments are the worst thing in the game. This is the hardest part, both this boss fight and Sky Fortress Act 1 in co-op. And the reason being is because player 1, Sonic, they control Sonic. Player 2, Tails, controls the plane. So one person is the one flying around and the other person is doing all the platforming. And that's a problem when Sonic can die at a will. because of Tails. If your player 2 can't catch up to Sonic in time and catch him back on the plane, you're easily overshooting the jumps and just falling into a pit. And especially if you're a Super Sonic, because it's so easy to fall off and die. I hate playing Wing Fortress Act 1 and the boss fight here in co-op. It's the worst part of the co-op. It's very easy to get things just so out of sync because your partner's going to want to do something different than you. Because that's just the nature of human beings. I want to do one thing, you want to do something else. And in co-op, having one person control the fate of the other player, because that's what you're doing when you're the one controlling the plane, it makes things very, very difficult. I hate this boss in co-op. It's the worst. Wing Fortress Act 1 at least is more doable in co-op in comparison to this boss fight, but it's so easy in this boss fight in particular for Sonic to get knocked so far back, whether it be in his super form bouncing on something, or getting hit by a laser in his normal form, that you just don't have enough time as Tails to catch him on the plane, so he just falls and dies. That callback feature is your best friend in co-op in Wing Fortress Zone. You're going to be using it all the time to call Sonic back on the plane. If you're not doing that, you're dead. It's as simple as that. But now at the end of Wing Fortress, the plane's blowing up. I don't know what caused this thing to blow up all of a sudden at the end of the boss fight, but everything's on fire and exploding, so now Metal Sonic and Eggman are going to space. Lucky for us, there's one capsule left to shoot us into space. But I swear, this thing, it's just lucky that Sonic and Tails were able to make it the Death Egg with this thing, because the engine on this capsule is shot. It's so spotty that I'm surprised this thing even broke orbit. The engine barely works. In fact, if you watch this cutscene going into space, the engine keeps on turning on and off. So how are they even able to break through the atmosphere with that is beyond me. They got really lucky. But now with Wing Fortress cleared, we're making our way to the Death Egg Mk.II. This is the rebuilt Death Egg from Sonic & Knuckles. It's back once more. This time, it's housing Little Planet inside of it. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and end the episode on that note. Next time on Let's Play Sonic 4 Episode 2, we'll be heading into the Death Egg Mk.II and beating both Eggman and Metal Sonic once and for all. I'll see you guys next time.